Ventalo had seen war on 47 different worlds. He had watched empires fall and species go extinct. He had recorded the deaths of millions and sent the footage across the galaxy without feeling anything at all. That was his job. He was a war correspondent for the Galactic Information Network, and he was very good at what he did. The Ilari people, his people, did not feel emotions the way other species did. They watched. They recorded. They reported. Nothing more. This made them perfect for the job of showing the universe its own violence. When Ventalo received orders to cover a small battle on Outpost Sigma 7, he did not expect anything special. The Keth Dominion was attacking a human colony. The Keth were strong warriors with thick armor and weapons that could cut through steel. They had sent 800 soldiers. The humans had less than 50. Ventalo had already written the ending in his mind. He would document another human defeat. Another small colony wiped from existence. Another footnote in galactic history. Humans were new to space. They had only left their home planet 200 years ago. They were weak, soft, and fragile. Everyone knew this. He arrived at Outpost Sigma 7 3 hours before the attack began. The colony was small. Just a few buildings made of cheap metal and plastic. Mining equipment sat in the red dust. The sky was brown and ugly. This was not a place worth dying for. The human commander met him at the landing zone. His name was Tejo, and he was not what Ventalo expected. He was short, even for a human. His hair was going gray. His uniform was old and patched in several places. He looked tired. "You are here to watch us die," Tejo said. It was not a question. Ventalo adjusted his recording device. "I am here to document the battle." Same thing. Tejo smiled. It was a strange smile. Not sad, not angry. Almost amused. "Come, I will show you our defenses." The defenses were pathetic. A few walls of sandbags. Some old guns mounted on tripods. Trenches dug into the hard ground. Ventalo had seen children build better fortifications in play. "You cannot win," Ventalo said. He was not being cruel. He was stating a fact. The Keth outnumber you 16-1. Their weapons are superior. Their armor will stop your bullets. You should evacuate. Tejo looked at the horizon where the Keth ships would soon appear. "My grandmother lived through a war on Earth. Did you know that? She was just a little girl. Bombs fell on her city every night. She had no food, no medicine, no hope. Everyone said her people would lose." He turned back to Ventalo. "She lived to be 93 years old. She used to tell me that humans do not know how to give up. We never learned." Before Ventalo could respond, the alarms began to sound. The Keth came like a dark wave across the dusty plain. 800 warriors in black armor, carrying blades and guns that glowed with deadly energy. Their war drums echoed across the empty land. They did not expect a real fight. They expected slaughter. Ventalo positioned himself on a small hill behind the human lines. From there, he could record everything. His camera drones floated in the air, capturing every angle. He was ready to document the end of Outpost Sigma 7. The first shots rang out. Human bullets bounced off Keth armor like rain off stone. The Keth laughed. Their deep voices rumbled across the battlefield. They began to charge. Then the humans did something strange. They started to sing. It was not a war song. It was something soft and sad. A song about a river and a home far away. The humans sang together as they fired their weapons. They sang as the Keth got closer and closer. They sang as the first of them began to fall. Ventalo watched a young woman named Hana take a Keth blade through her shoulder. She fell. The Keth soldier stood over her, ready to finish the kill. But Hana was not done. She pulled a knife from her belt with her good arm and drove it into a gap in the Keth armor. The warrior fell. Hana stood up and kept fighting. Another human, an old man with white hair, picked up a fallen Keth weapon. It was too heavy for him. He could barely lift it. But he fired it anyway, screaming words in a language Ventalo did not understand. 3 Keth fell before they cut him down. A boy who looked too young to be a soldier threw himself onto a Keth grenade. The explosion killed him instantly. It also saved the 7 humans behind him. Hour after hour, the battle raged. The humans should have broken. Every military manual in the galaxy said they should have broken. When you lose 30% of your forces, you retreat. When you lose 50%, you surrender. When you lose 70%, you die. The humans lost 60% of their soldiers in the first 4 hours. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They dug deeper into their trenches and fought harder. Ventalo watched Tejo command from the front lines. A Keth blade had cut his left arm badly. Blood soaked his uniform. He did not seem to notice. He moved from position to position, helping the wounded, directing fire, and always smiling that strange smile. At the 8-hour mark, something impossible happened. The Keth began to fall back, not because they were losing. They still had over 300 warriors. The humans had less than 40. The Keth fell back because they were afraid. V and Talo had never seen the Keth afraid of anything. The battle lasted 11 hours. When the human reinforcement ships finally arrived, they found 31 humans still standing among the bodies of 512 Keth warriors. Hannah was among the survivors. Her left arm was useless. Her ribs were broken. She had a piece of metal stuck in her leg. When the medics reached her, she was laughing at a joke another wounded soldier had just told. Tejo met the reinforcement commander at the edge of the battlefield. His face was covered in blood and dust. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but he was still smiling. "Took you long enough," he said. Va and Talo returned to the Galactic Information Network headquarters 3 days later. He submitted his report and his footage. He expected praise. He had documented one of the most remarkable battles in recent history. Instead, his editor called him into a private office. "We cannot broadcast this," the editor said. "Why not?" "It is accurate. Every frame is verified. That is the problem." The editor looked nervous. Ventalo had never seen an Ilari look nervous before. "If we show this to the galaxy, no one will believe it. They will think we made it up. They will think it is propaganda. 43 humans defeating 800 Keth? It is impossible." But it happened. I watched it happen. The editor deleted the file. "No, it did not happen. It could not happen. You will write a different report. You will say the humans retreated before the battle began. You will say the Keth won easily. That is the truth the galaxy will accept." Ventalo left the office in silence. For the first time in his long career, he did not know what was true anymore. He only knew what he had seen, and he knew he would never forget it. The message came to Ventalo 6 months after the Battle of Outpost, Sigma 7. It was encrypted and sent through channels that did not officially exist. The sender was unknown. The message was simple. "You are not alone. Come to Station Crix 9. Bring your real footage." Ventalo should have ignored it. He should have deleted it and continued with his work. But the battle haunted him. Every night, he saw the humans singing as they died. He saw Hannah laughing with metal in her leg. He saw Tejo smiling at the end of all hope. So he went. Station Crix 9 was a trading post on the edge of known space. It was old and dirty and full of criminals. No one came here without a reason to hide. Ventalo found the meeting place in a back room of a bar that smelled like engine oil and regret. 12 beings sat around a table. They came from 12 different species. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no bodies at all, just floating clouds of light. But they all had one thing in common. They were all war correspondents. And they all looked afraid. A Selkath named Rix Mora spoke first. His blue skin was pale. His gills moved rapidly with stress. "Thank you for coming. We have all seen things. Things we were not allowed to report. Things about humans." "I thought I was the only one," Ventalo said. "We all thought that." Rix Mora activated a hologram in the center of the table. "This is my footage from Vithras 4. The hologram showed an ice moon. The surface was white and endless. The temperature reading in the corner said -190 degrees. At that temperature, most species died in minutes. Even the Keth, with their thick armor, could only survive for an hour. A group of humans walked across the ice. Their heating units were dark and broken. Frost covered their faces. Their lips were blue. Their fingers were black with frostbite. By every law of biology, they should have been dead. Instead, they were talking. "This reminds me of that camping trip," one human said. His name tag read Sumin. "He was shaking so hard, he could barely walk." "Remember when the tent collapsed?" Another human laughed. "Her name was Mi Young. Ice hung from her hair like jewelry. That was the worst night of my life, until now." "At least we had marshmallows then," Sumin said. They walked for 3 more hours. They walked through a blizzard that would have killed any other species. They walked until they reached an enemy base and destroyed it with frozen fingers that could barely hold their weapons. 7 of the 12 humans survived. They called it a bit cold. Rix Mora turned off the hologram. "My editor said no one would believe this. They said I must have faked it. They deleted my footage and warned me never to speak of it again." Another correspondent spoke up. She was an android named Delasun. Her metal face showed no emotion, but her voice was troubled. "I do not deal in footage. I deal in numbers. I am a war analyst. I calculate outcomes. I have never been wrong." She paused. "Until humans." She projected her own data onto the table. Charts and graphs filled the air. The Battle of the Corin Nebula. 300 human ships against 4,500 enemy vessels. The humans were outnumbered 15 to 1. Their ships were old. Their weapons were weak. They had no food for 3 days. My calculations gave them a 0.3% chance of victory. "What happened?" Ventalo asked, though he already knew the answer. "They won." Delasun's voice cracked, something that should have been impossible for an android. "In 4 hours. They lost 60% of their fleet, but they won." One pilot named Wu Jin flew his damaged ship directly into the enemy flagship. He was playing music on open channels, something called rock and roll. He was laughing when he died. She showed the recording. A young human face appeared on screen. Wu Jin had a cut on his forehead and a smile on his lips. Fire filled his cockpit. Alarm screamed, but his voice was calm. "Tell my mother I love her," he said. "And tell my sister she still owes me 20 credits. Then he hit the flagship, and everything turned to light. "My models cannot explain this," Delasun said. "Humans do not fight according to logic. They do not retreat when they should. They do not surrender when they must. They do not die when they are supposed to. I have analyzed 57 human battles. In 43 of them, humans should have lost. They won 39. One by one, the other correspondents shared their stories. A battle where a single human held a bridge for 9 hours. A siege where civilians fought with kitchen knives and won. A last stand where humans sang their national anthem as they were overrun, only to emerge from the rubble the next morning and counterattack. The stories were impossible. All of them. And yet, they were all true. Finally, an old correspondent named Belvar stood up. He was from a species that lived for thousands of years. He had seen more wars than anyone in the room. "I have watched the rise and fall of 100 species," he said. "I have seen empires that lasted 10,000 years crumble to dust. I thought I understood war. I thought I understood survival." He shook his head slowly. "Humans have shown me that I understand nothing. What do we do?" Rixmora asked. "Nothing." Balvar's voice was heavy. "We do nothing. We report nothing. If the galaxy learns what humans can truly do, there will be panic. Species will attack them out of fear, or they will try to ally with them out of desperation. Either way, the balance of power will collapse. You want us to lie?" Ventalo asked. "I want us to be silent. There is a difference." Balvar looked at each of them in turn. "We have all seen the truth. That is enough. That is more than enough. Let the galaxy believe that humans are weak and fragile. Let them believe that humans are nothing special. It is safer that way, for everyone." The vote was unanimous. From that day forward, human battles would not be reported accurately. Victories would become defeats. Heroism would become retreat. The truth would be buried under comfortable lies. The Council of Silent Witnesses had made their choice, but secrets have a way of escaping. And the truth, no matter how impossible, cannot stay hidden forever. As they left the meeting, Ventalo noticed one seat was empty. Someone had not come. Someone had heard everything through hidden channels. Someone was already planning to show the galaxy what humans really were. The silence would not last. Kethvos was young and stupid and brave. These three things often go together. He was a junior correspondent for the Galactic Information Network. He had only worked there for 2 years. He had never covered a real war, only small fights on distant moons that nobody cared about. When he intercepted the secret transmission from Station Crix 9, he thought it was his chance to become famous. He was right, but not in the way he expected. Kethvos listened to the entire meeting of the Council of Silent Witnesses. He heard their stories about impossible human victories. He heard their decision to bury the truth. And he disagreed. The galaxy deserved to know, he thought. People had a right to the truth. Hiding information was wrong, no matter how scary that information might be. So he did something foolish. He went to Nova Bizin. Nova Bizin was a human colony on the far edge of human space. It was named after a city on Earth, in a country called Korea. The colony had 12,000 civilians and 600 soldiers. It was small and poor and far from help. It was also under attack. The Vral swarm had come. The Vral were different from other enemies. They did not think like individuals. They shared one mind across millions of bodies. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They did not stop. When the Vral decided to take a world, they simply sent bodies until the world was empty of all other life. They sent 3 million bodies to Nova Busan. Eats Voss arrived on day 47 of the siege. He had to crash his ship through the Vral blockade. He lost 2 engines and most of his supplies. But he made it to the surface with his camera still working. What he found there changed him forever. The colony should have fallen in 3 days. The Vral had done the math. 12,000 civilians and 600 soldiers against 3 million. Vral. The outcome was certain. But the humans had not done the math. Or maybe they had, and simply did not care. Governor Sua met Kethvos at the remains of the landing pad. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She had not slept in 32 days. Her hand shook when she walked, but her voice was steady. "Another reporter," she said. "The last one died on day 20. Vral got him when he tried to flee." "I am not fleeing," Kethvos said. Su studied him for a long moment. Then she almost smiled. "Good. We can use another pair of hands." "Can you shoot?" "No." "Can you carry supplies?" "Yes. Then welcome to Nova Bizin. Cathvos spent the next 162 days recording everything. He filmed farmers who had never held weapons learning to shoot in 3 days and fighting like veterans. He filmed teachers building bombs from mining chemicals and broken electronics. He filmed children as young as 8 carrying ammunition through tunnels too small for adults, dodging Vral claws and Vral teeth with speed and courage that made him weep. He filmed Day 1. Day 1 was 73 years old. He had been a miner before the war. His back was bent from decades of hard work. His hands were rough and scarred. He should have been in a shelter with the other elderly, waiting to be evacuated. Instead, he volunteered to hold the Eastern Bridge. The Eastern Bridge was the only route from the Vral hive to the colony's water supply. If it fell, the colony would die of thirst in 3 days. The military wanted to send 20 soldiers to defend it. Day 1 told them he only needed himself. They thought he was joking. He was not. Cathvos followed Day 1 to the bridge. He filmed everything that happened next. For 9 hours, one old man held back thousands of Vral. He had no gun, only a mining drill that he had modified to cut through Vral armor. He stood at the center of the bridge, and every Vral that came close died on his blade. The Vral did not understand. They kept sending bodies, 1 at a time, then 10 at a time, then 100 at a time. Day 1 killed them all. His arm should have given out. His legs should have collapsed. His heart should have stopped. But humans, Cathvos was learning, did not follow the rules. At hour 7, Cathvos asked him why. Why was he doing this? Why did he not let younger soldiers take over? Day 1 killed 3 more Vral before answering. His voice was calm. My grandson is in the shelter. He is 4 years old. He likes to build things with blocks. Another Vral died on his drill. If I stop, they will reach him. So I do not stop. It is very simple. At hour 9, reinforcements finally arrived. 20 soldiers ran onto the bridge, expecting to find Day 1's body. They found him standing, covered in Vral blood, his drill broken, his hands holding a piece of metal he had torn from a Vral body. Behind him, the bridge was carpeted with dead Vral. You are late, Day 1 said. Then he sat down, drank some water, and asked if anyone had food. The siege lasted 209 days. When the relief fleet finally broke through the Vral blockade, they expected to find ruins. They expected to find bodies. They expected to find silence. Instead, they found 12,000 civilians, many wounded but alive. They found 300 surviving soldiers. They found Governor Sua standing at the landing pad, her gray hair now white, her tired eyes now proud. What took you so long? She asked. Cathvos transmitted his footage that night. He sent it to every network in 17 systems. He bypassed all the security. He ignored all the protocols. He did not care about the Council of Silent Witnesses or their fears. The galaxy needed to see this. The galaxy needed to understand. Within hours, his footage was everywhere. People watched humans do impossible things. They watched farmers become warriors. They watched children brave death. They watched an old man hold a bridge alone against an army, and they were afraid. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Species that had never spoken to each other sent panicked messages. Military leaders demanded answers. Politicians made threats. If humans could do this on a small colony with no resources, what could they do with a real army? What could they do with real weapons? What could they do if they decided to stop defending and start attacking? The Council of Silent Witnesses had been right. The truth was dangerous, but it was too late now. The truth was free, and it was only the beginning. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had stood for 6,000 years. It had seen treaties signed and wars declared. It had witnessed the rise of empires and the fall of tyrants. But it had never seen anything like this. Every seat was filled. Representatives from 347 species sat in silence, their eyes fixed on the center of the hall. Fear hung in the air like smoke dot. In the center stood a single figure. Rex Kane, Supreme Commander of the Vral Swarm. The Vral did not attend councils. They did not negotiate. They did not speak to other species except to demand surrender. In 10,000 years of Vral history, no Supreme Commander had ever stood before another species as anything other than a conqueror. Until today, Rex Kane was massive. His body was covered in black armor that grew from his own flesh. His forearms ended in claws that could cut through steel. His eyes, all 6 of them, were red as blood. He was a creature built for war and nothing else, and he was afraid. "You summoned me to explain," Rex Kane said. His voice echoed through the hall. "You want to know about the humans. You want to understand why we failed at Nova Bizin." The council speaker, an ancient being named Vorothel, leaned forward. 3 million Vral against 12,000 humans. "You lost. Explain." Rex Kane was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, quieter, almost broken. "I have led the swarm for 200 years. I have conquered 43 worlds. I have killed billions. I have never known fear." He paused. "I know it now." He activated a hologram. Images filled the center of the hall. Images from Nova Bizan. Images of humans fighting, dying, and refusing to stop. "We did everything right," Rex Kane said. "We cut off their supplies. We destroyed their communications. We killed their soldiers. We broke their defenses. Again and again, we broke them." His voice cracked, and they kept coming. He showed footage of a young soldier named Jinsu. Jinsu had been captured on day 53 of the siege. The Vral had tortured him for information about the colony's defenses. They had methods that broke every species. Methods that turned the strongest warriors into weeping children in hours. Jinsu lasted 11 days. "We did everything to him," Rex Kane said. "Everything. He should have told us what we wanted to know." His body was broken. His mind should have been broken. But he said nothing useful. He only repeated 2 words over and over. "What words?" The council speaker asked. He said, "My grandmother." Rex Kane shook his massive head. "We did not understand. We still do not understand. What does a grandmother have to do with resisting torture?" He showed more footage. A human medic treating wounds while Vral claws slashed at her back. A human pilot flying a burning ship into a Vral carrier. A human father carrying his wounded daughter through enemy fire, stopping only to kill the Vral that got too close. "Every species has a breaking point," Rex Kane said. "Every species knows when it is beaten. When the battle is lost, they surrender. When death is certain, they accept it. This is natural. This is logical. This is how the universe works." He turned to face the council directly. "Humans do not work this way." A Cellcath representative raised a tentacle. "Perhaps they are simply too stupid to know when they are beaten." "No." Rex Kane's response was immediate and sharp. "I thought the same thing at first. I was wrong. They know when they are beaten. They simply do not care. They fight anyway. They die anyway. And somehow, impossibly, they win anyway." He showed one final piece of footage. It was from the last day of the siege. The relief fleet had just broken through. The Vral were retreating. In the footage, a group of human soldiers sat in the ruins of a building. They were wounded and exhausted. They had not eaten in 2 days. They had not slept in 3. They were laughing. One soldier, a woman named Unji, was telling a story about her cat back on Earth. The cat had knocked over a plant and looked surprised when it fell. The other soldiers laughed like it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. They had just survived 209 days of hell, Rex Kane said. They had lost friends. They had seen horrors. They had faced death every single day. And they were laughing about a cat. He turned off the hologram. The hall was silent. I do not understand humans, Rex Kane said. I do not think I ever will. But I know one thing for certain. He looked at each council member in turn. We cannot beat them. Not really. We can kill them, yes. We can destroy their cities. We can burn their worlds. But we cannot make them stop. We cannot make them surrender. We cannot make them afraid. The council speaker asked the question everyone was thinking. What happens when humans decide to expand? What happens when they stop defending and start attacking? Rex Kane did not answer for a long time. When he did, his voice was barely a whisper. Then we pray to whatever gods we believe in, because nothing else will save us. He walked out of the hall without another word. Behind him, 347 species sat in terrified silence, wondering what they had done to share a galaxy with humanity. The footage from Nova Bizin played on every screen on every world. People watched humans do impossible things. They watched humans laugh in the face of death. They watched humans refuse to break, refuse to surrender, refuse to die. Some species began to send gifts to human colonies, food, medicine, technology. They hoped to earn human friendship before it was too late. Others began to build weapons. Bigger weapons. More powerful weapons. They hoped to destroy humanity before humans destroyed them. And somewhere on Earth, a young woman named Yuna read about her people's victory at Nova Bizin. She did not feel proud. She did not feel afraid. She only felt sad that her grandfather had survived the same kind of war. Long ago on Earth, he had told her stories about it when she was little. He had told her that war was terrible and wonderful at the same time. Terrible because of the death and the pain. Wonderful because it showed what humans could truly be. She hoped the galaxy would learn the right lesson from Nova Bizin. She hoped they would see that humans did not fight because they wanted to conquer. They fought because they had to. They fought to protect what they loved. But she knew that hope was probably foolish. The galaxy was afraid now. And afraid people did terrible things. The war was just beginning. Ventalo returned to Earth 2 years after the Battle of Outpost Sigma 7. He had quit his job at the Galactic Information Network. He had left his homeworld. He had abandoned everything he knew, all because of a question that would not leave his mind. Why? Why did humans fight like that? Why did they refuse to surrender when surrender was logical? Why did they die smiling? Why did they laugh in the middle of hell? He had watched thousands of hours of footage. He had read millions of words written by human historians. He had interviewed dozens of human survivors from different battles. None of them could give him an answer that made sense. So he decided to live among them, to walk their streets, to eat their food, to learn their stories. Maybe then he would understand. He spent 2 years on Earth. He lived in many places. Big cities full of noise and light. Small towns surrounded by green fields. Mountains where the air was thin and cold. Beaches where the waves sang day and night. Everywhere he went, he asked the same question. Why do you fight like that? The answers were always different. For my family, some said. For my home, others said. For my friends. For my country. For something bigger than myself. But these answers were not unique to humans. Other species fought for these things too. Other species just knew when to stop. On his last day on Earth, Ventalo visited a small memorial outside a city called Seoul. It was a quiet place surrounded by trees. The leaves were orange and red with autumn colors. The air smelled like rain. The memorial honored soldiers from a war called the Korean War. It had been fought hundreds of years ago, long before humans reached the stars. Ventalo read the names carved into the stone. Simple names. Ordinary names. Names of people who had died far from home in a conflict most of the galaxy had never heard of. He read about a battle at a frozen lake. The humans called it Chosin Reservoir. The temperature had dropped to minus 40 degrees. The enemy had surrounded the human soldiers. They were outnumbered 8-1. They had no food, no warm clothes, no hope of rescue. They should have surrendered. Any logical species would have surrendered. Instead, they fought their way out. They marched through the snow for weeks. They carried their wounded on their backs. They did not leave a single person behind, living or dead. When they finally reached safety, they had lost many soldiers. But they had not lost their honor. One commander had said something that became famous. When asked if his soldiers were retreating, he answered, "We are not retreating. We are just advancing in a different direction." Ventalo read those words 3 times. Then he began to laugh. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone who finally understood something that had confused him for years. "You think it is funny?" He turned. A young woman stood behind him. She was small and thin. Her black hair was cut short. Her eyes were dark and sad and strong. She wore simple clothes and carried flowers in her hand. "No," Ventalo said. "I think it is incredible and terrifying and beautiful." "My name is Yuna," the woman said. She walked past him and placed the flowers at the base of the memorial. "My great-great-grandfather fought at Chosin. He was 17 years old. He carried his best friend for 3 days through the snow. His friend had lost both legs to an explosion." She paused. "They both survived. My grandfather became a doctor. His friend became a teacher. They visited each other every week until they died, 60 years later." "Why did he do it?" Ventalo asked. "Why did he carry a wounded man through 3 days of hell? He could have left him. He could have saved himself." Yuna looked at the names on the memorial. Hundreds of names. Thousands of names. Ordinary names belonging to ordinary people who had done extraordinary things. "Because he had to," she said simply. "Because leaving his friend would have been worse than dying. Because giving up would have meant that everyone who died before him did it for nothing." She turned to face Ventalo. "You are not the first alien to come here with that question. You will not be the last. And I will tell you what I tell all of them." "What?" "Humans are not brave because we do not feel fear. We feel fear all the time. We are afraid of death. We are afraid of pain. We are afraid of losing the people we love." She smiled, and it was the same smile Ventalo had seen on Tejo's face all those years ago. Sad and proud and unbreakable. We are brave because we feel all that fear, and we fight anyway. We fight because the person beside us is counting on us. We fight because someone has to. We fight because that is who we are. Ventalo was silent for a long time. He looked at the memorial. He looked at the names. He looked at Yuna, standing small and strong before him. "I think I finally understand," he said. "No," Yuna shook her head. "You do not. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But that is okay." She began to walk away, then stopped and looked back at him. "Tell your people the truth about us. Tell them we are not gods or monsters. We are just people. Scared people who love too much and hold on too tight and refuse to let go." Her smile faded. "And tell them this. If they come for us, we will not run. We will not hide. We will not surrender. We will fight. And we will win. Not because we are stronger, but because we do not know how to do anything else." She walked away through the autumn leaves. Ventala watched her go until she disappeared. That night, he wrote his final report. He wrote about everything he had seen and learned. He wrote about Teho's smile and Hannah's laugh and Daewon's bridge. He wrote about Jinsu's grandmother and Sua's patience and Yuna's words. He wrote about a species that should not exist, that defied every law of logic and survival, that turned impossible into possible through nothing but pure. Stubborn will dot. He did not send it to the Galactic Information Network. He sent it everywhere. Every species, every planet, every station, every ship. He attached a note. If you are planning to fight humanity, do not. Not because you will lose. You will. But because you will never understand how you lost. You will never make sense of it. You will spend the rest of your existence wondering how such a small, soft, fragile species defeated you. And the answer will drive you mad. They do not fight like other species. They fight like people who have already accepted death and decided it is not enough to stop them. They fight like people who would rather burn than bend. They fight like people who love something more than they fear anything. I have studied war my entire life. I have seen species that were stronger, faster, smarter than humans. All of them had limits. All of them could be broken. Humans cannot be broken. I do not know why. I do not think anyone will ever know why. I only know that it is true. So do not fight them. Talk to them. Trade with them. Learn from them. Because if you make them your enemy, you will lose everything. And if you make them your friend, you might just learn what it means to never give up. The report spread across the galaxy. Some believed it. Some did not. But slowly, quietly, things began to change. Species that had planned to attack human colonies changed their minds. Treaties were signed. Trade routes opened. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy moved toward peace. And somewhere on Earth, Yuna visited her grandfather's grave. She placed flowers at his headstone and told him about the strange alien who had come to understand. "We did it, grandfather," she whispered. "We showed them who we are." The wind blew through the trees. The leaves fell like tears. And somewhere in the stars, 1,000,000 species looked at humanity with new eyes. They were still afraid. But now they understood and understanding. Sometimes is enough.